Hi, I'm Adam from the Press Continue podcast, and today I'm talking about my commander deck, Edgar Markov. You see first it's a 4/4 vampire, and he has Eminence, which whenever you cast another vampire spell, if Edgar Markov is in the command zone or on the battlefield, you create a 1/1 black vampire creature token. He's a 4/4 with first strike and haste, and whenever Edgar Markov attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. So, one of the few commanders that actually does something even when it's in the command zone. This guy, as I've seen a lot of people playing him, I think he's a great deck for beginners, especially if you're learning commander, so that even with competitive decks, you can still play, because the deck right out of the box is great. Of course, we're not playing it standard. I did do, of course, a few changes, a few of my own spins on it. You notice even the art I've changed up. That has a picture of, I take all my friends and I turn them into magic cards, and then we came into the idea of making each of us as a commander so we can play as ourselves. So that is a picture of my friend Mitch, that I kind of made him a vampire, and because he used to play this deck all the time. So, and it's funny, ever since I made this card, he has not played this deck. So, but I'm showing the deck off before I take it apart, because I've played it quite a few times, and I just want to do different stuff with it. So let's get into it, and I did not check to make sure the focus was good, so let's mess with that a little bit. I don't know how well my computer's running today either. Seems like it's having a few issues, so that's better. So there's Edgar Markov. Of course, he comes when you buy it. You get, of course, foil version of him, as well as a full oversized version of him as well. So, heck, I didn't even change this. So, boom. Fixed. Alright. So, let's get to it, right? Let's see, blah, 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 blah. Alright. So, as always, I start by going through land. I have a lot of old unlimited lands in this deck. I actually took most of them out while I was messing around with this thing before, because I'm in the middle of building a brand new deck, and I will show you guys that one once I get it going a little better. Let me make sure the chat lines are working. Yep. So chat lines are open, so tell me if you guys have any ideas on the deck or what you want to talk about. I'm here, so make it interactive. Let me know what's going on. So we got planes. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's some of that thunder. 6, 7, 8. 8 planes. Then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 swamps. Most of the deck is black, so of course that makes a little more sense to have mostly black. And I think there's only like a couple of white cards in the deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 mountains. It's red that I hardly have any red in there. Yeah, 5 mountains, so don't need a lot of red in there because there's not a lot of red in the deck. Again, it's mainly black. Command tower, of course, pretty standard for a commander deck, right? You got a Path of Ancestry. Path of Ancestry enters the battlefield tapped. Add 1 mana to your mana pool of any color of your commander's color identity. When that mana is spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type with your commander, scry 1. Again, everyone knows how much I loved scrying, so and everything in here is a vampire. So I get to scry every time I use that, and it's every color. Again, for every color, Nomad Outpost comes in the battlefield tapped, gives you red, white, or black. Smoldering Marsh, it's a swamp and a mountain, so real good for fetching if you have fetch effects in there. Smoldering Marsh enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. Well, most of my lands are basic, so it usually comes in untapped. Temple of Malice enters the battlefield tapped, give me black or red, but when it enters the battlefield you get to scry 1. Foreboding Ruins. As Foreboding Ruins enters the battlefield, you may reveal a swamp or mountain card from your hand. If you don't, it enters the battlefield tapped and you get black or red. So those are dual lands that I really like because there's really hardly any drawback to them. These, again, the Tainted Lands, Tainted Field, tap to add 1 colorless, or tap to add white or black to your mana pool if you have a swamp in play. Well, again, we have mainly swamps. Opal Palace. Not really sure why I have this in there. But it's in there, and it came with the deck. So there's really no extra advantage to it, but it does tap to add colorless, or pay 1 and tap it. Add to your mana pool 1 mana of any color into your commander's color identity. If you spend this mana to cast your commander, it enters the battlefield with a number of additional +1/+1 counters on it equal to the number of times it's been cast from the command zone this game. So this deck really doesn't do anything extra with +1 counters, but it is a power-up, and it is any color mana, so that's kind of good for that. Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse basically do the same thing. You tap it, sack it, search your library for a basic land card and put it in the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. So, I don't normally like these cards, but I feel mixed about these two. For one, it's good for color fixing, especially since, like I don't have very much red sitting in the deck. Number 2, though, I see it as it's a way to thin land out of your deck, so you're less likely to draw land. So it's got like pluses for that, but at the same time, it's like you lose a turn. So I don't normally play with them in a lot of decks. Again, it came with them in this deck, so I kind of just kept them in there. Plus, again, since it's mainly black, it makes it a little easier to get to the red and white that I need if I need it. And Bojuka Bog enters battlefield tapped. When Bojuka Bog enters the battlefield, exile all cards from target player's graveyard. Tap to add 1 black. So that is the land base for this deck. Nothing super crazy. Nothing super out of the ordinary. Let me mess with the focus a little bit more again. See if I can get that a little bit clearer for everybody. There we go. So, that's the mana base. You can tell, again, a lot of basics, not a lot of crazy stuff going on. Not like a lot of my other decks where I always get super funky with all the lands. Because, lands are my favorite thing in the game. I actually want to make a deck that's just all land and weird effects for land. And man lands and all that kind of stuff, but I have not ever done it. But I got to do it one of these days. Alright, shuffle up some land. Now we go to the non-creature spells. Pretty basic Soul Ring, there we go. We're in all the mana rocks here. Got Boros Signet, pay 1, tap it, add white and red. Rakdos Signet, pay 1, tap it, add black and red. Orzhov Signet, pay 1, tap it, get white and black. So again, color fixing as well as a little bit of speed there. Worn Power Stone enters the battlefield tapped. Give you 2 colorless. So that was the extra mana base right there. Gruesome Fate. Each opponent loses 1 life for each creature you control. Again, every time I play a vampire spell, I get a 1/1 creature. This Gruesome Fate has done a lot of work in a few of my token decks, so that's a crazy damage spell. Blood Tribute. Kicker. Tap and untap vampire you control. So when you play this spell, you have to tap a vampire I control. Target opponent loses half of their life rounded up. If Blood Tribute was kicked, you gain life equal to the life lost this way. So cut somebody in half, gain half their life. Kindred Charge. Choose a creature type. Of course, I'm picking vampires. For each creature you control of the chosen type, create a token that's a copy of that creature. Those tokens gain haste. Exile them at the beginning of the next end step. So I double my creature base, and then attack with a bunch of vampires, right? Wow, yeah, that's good. Harsh Sustenance. Harsh Sustenance deals X damage to target creature or player, and you gain X life, where X is the number of creatures you control. Again, you're making a bunch of creatures with this, because every time you play something, every time you're playing a vampire spell, you're making a 1/1 vampire. So that's the thing with this, with Edgar Markov, is because of the eminence, even if someone board wipes, you recover super fast. So, big damage off of that. And it's an instant, so that's good. This was something that I did a little different with this deck. I put some control magic into it. Let's see if I can get a little clearer for you guys. Any better? Probably about the same. Okay, so Ritual of the Machine. Sacrifice a creature to gain control of target non-black, non-artifact creature. So stack one of those tokens and steal something. Goes right along with New Blood as an additional cost to New Blood. Tap and untap vampire you control. Again, you got plenty of those. Gain control of target creature. Change the text of that creature by replacing all instances of one creature type with vampire. So a little bonus on that one. Besides taking it, you can power it up as well. So if somebody's playing a Merfolk deck or something, you can change that Merfolk effect to vampire effect, and you get all the bonuses. Radiant Destiny. Ascend. If you control 10 or more permanents, you get the city's blessing for the rest of the game. As Radiant Destiny enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Vampires. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. As long as you have the city's blessing, they also have vigilance. So of course, don't tap to attack, and they all get +1/+1. And you get the city's blessing real quick in this deck. I'm in the power-up section in case you can't tell. Coat of Arms. Each creature gets +1/+1 for each other creature in play of the same creature type. So if I have 5 vampires in play, they all get +4/+4 each. If I have 6, they get +5/+5 each. Coat of Arms. Oh, it took us a long time to understand this card in the old days, but once we understood the power, it goes in pretty much any kind of theme deck, and it's good. Then they came out with a new version of it called Vanquisher's Banner. As Vanquisher's Banner enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type gets +1/+1. Whenever you cast a creature spell of the chosen type, draw a card. So not as big a power of a coat of arms, but it does give you a card draw engine as well. Here's the removal spells. Swords of Plowshares. Exile target creature controller gains life equal to its power. So you can hit theirs creatures, or you can hit your own if you need some life. Attrition. Sack a creature, or pay 1 black, sacrifice a creature, destroy target non-black creature. Why is it every time this thing hits the board, I am playing against a black deck? and they're the ones that are the threat. That's always what happens to me when I have this card in my hand. Vona's Hunger. Ascend. Again, if you control 10 or more permanents, you get the city's blessing. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. If you have the city's blessing, instead each opponent sacrifices half the creatures they control rounded up. This is actually inspiring me. I came up with an idea for a new commander deck where it's all going to be based on fractions. Like people taking a third of their life, people losing a half of this, things like that. And I'm finding more and more cards that deal with doing half, doing a third, doing different fractions of damage or fractions of removal or things like that. So that might end up being in there. That's going to be an interesting deck whenever I do make it. Mortify, destroy target creature or enchantment. Pretty straightforward. Crackling Doom. Crackling Doom deals 2 damage to each opponent. Each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures they control. So it's kind of a double whammy. It is a removal of whatever their toughest thing is, so that's good. And they are sacrificing it, so it gets around indestructible, because usually the really big, toughest creatures are indestructible. So that's kind of a way to get around that. Consuming Vapors. I got the Vapors. Target player sacrifices a creature. You gain life equal to that creature's toughness. Then it has Rebound, so if you cast a spell from your hand, exile it. At the beginning of your next upkeep, I can play this card again from exile without paying its mana cost. Return to Dust. Return to Dust says exile target artifact or enchantment. If you cast a spell during your main phase, you may exile up to 1 other target artifact or enchantment. So definitely play it during your main phase and exile 2 things. Fell the Mighty. Destroy all creatures with power greater than target creature's power. A lot of times I will hit that 1/1 vampire and wipe out everything else. Merciless Eviction. Choose 1. Exile all artifacts, exile all creatures, exile all enchantments, or exile all planeswalkers. I only have a few ways to deal with planeswalkers directly in this deck. This is one of them. Planeswalkers just annoy me because, for one, there's just too much to deal with on a planeswalker card. Too much crap to read, too many things to remember. And number 2, I can never remember the rules of attacking planeswalkers and how the damage works and blah blah blah, because I keep changing it, and I've never fully understood how are you attacking me or are you attacking the planeswalker? Before it used to be, okay, I'll attack you. Well, I don't block anything. Well, instead of hitting you with the damage, now I send it to planeswalker. I think that's how it worked. I don't know. And then they changed the text on a bunch of cards. Hello, Andy. Thanks for tuning in during this stormy night. The streets are flooding, and the vampires from Magic are taking over tonight. So we got a Grave Pact. Whenever any creature you control is put in any graveyard, each other player sacks a creature. So if I'm losing stuff, so are you. Goes really good with Skull Clamp. Equipped creature gets +1/-1. Well, of course, you equip one of your 1/1 tokens, so it instantly dies, and then you draw 2 cards. So basically, for 1 mana, you would draw 2 cards. It's wonderful. Yeah, there were actually waves going down our street. Like, we should have went out there and boogie boarded or something, because the amount of rain coming down was ridiculous. But nothing flooded, so that's good. Read the Bones. Scry 2, then draw 2 cards. You lose 2 life. For 3 mana, flipping through 4 cards and losing 2 life is not that bad. Again, there's not a lot of black draw extra cards that don't take life away from you. So I'm okay with that. But there's also, once I get into the creatures, you'll see that there is a lot of life gain type stuff. So, ambitions cost. You draw 3 cards and you lose 3 life. Whoopity do. Whenever a creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on equipped creature. If equipped creature is a vampire, put 2 counters on it instead. So this is like a old card that I liked. I think I showed it off in my Shattergang Brothers deck. I forget what it is, but it's a 1 black enchantment that says whenever a creature dies, you get a +1/+1 counter on that creature. And it builds up really quick on a creature because stuff is dying everywhere. This is just an equipment card that does the same thing. I may end up putting this in that other deck I was talking about, the Shattergang Brothers deck, because I need more artifacts in there, and that effect is just plain sick. But of course, everything's a vampire in this deck, so it's getting double counters. Siphon Mind. Each other player discards a card. You draw cards equal to the cards discarded that way. When you're playing against 3 people, basically you're getting 3 cards for 4 mana. That's all good. And then this nice foily, really well done foil. This is back when I really liked how they did foil cards. I really liked when it was like super shiny and the borders looked awesome. It's noble purpose. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage, you gain that much life. So, again, it's not, like I explained last time, it's not giving my creatures lifelink. It's just saying when they do damage, I gain that much life. Which is what lifelink is, but it's different than giving a creature lifelink twice, because lifelink effects don't stack. This just makes it where lifelink does one thing, noble purpose does another thing, so it works really well together. So I can gain double life off a lifelink creature, or of course life off of anything that attacks. So that's the non-creature spells, and let's give that a quick shuffle. Sounds like the storm might have quieted down out there. So what's everybody doing tonight? Anything exciting? Besides sitting here watching me nerd out with some vampires? I know back in the old days, again this is like 15 years ago Magic, my friend George had a real thing for vampires, and in the old days the best vampire was Singer Vampire. It's a 5 casting cost black vampire, 4/4 flyer, but whenever he killed a creature, he would get a +1/+1 counter. So we'd find ways to make him able to kill other creatures and get these power-ups. And yeah, Singer Vampires used to be like the thing to have. And he built a deck of all vampires when there weren't even that many vampires out back then. And it worked really well. We just had fun with it. We used to do a lot of weird theme decks. So whether they worked or not, we just had fun playing. So that's all that mattered. And I've said it many times. If you're playing something and you're not having fun, there's no point playing it. So either find something else to do, find something else to play. If you're not having fun, either you got the wrong attitude or you're playing the wrong game. So, or you're playing with the wrong people. The people you play with, especially with Magic, if you're not playing with a fun group, it just kills the game. So there's a few people that I really like to play with. There's some that I don't care to play with at all. So I think they kind of know who they are, but who knows? I mean, if you have to play with someone, you have to play with someone because it's for the love of the game, right? So here we go. Bloodseeker. We're in the creatures. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, you may have that player lose 1 life. So really messes up other token decks. Elenda, the Dusk Rose. Here's that lifelink, 1/1 lifelink. Whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Whenever this creature dies, create X 1/1 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink, where X is this card's power. So 4 mana for a 1/1 lifelink is not very good, but when a bunch of creatures start dying and you find ways to like take care of other people's creatures and keep yours alive, this could build into something big. Sangomancer. 3/3 flyer. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, I gain 3 life. And whenever an opponent discards a card, I gain 3 life. So a couple of effects there. And you notice I didn't have a lot of discard stuff, but I did have a lot of things that kill other people's creatures. So it's just some life gain in there. Sanctum Seeker. Whenever a vampire you control attacks, each opponent loses a life, and you gain a life. So again, my board is full of a bunch of vampires, so I can literally just attack out and kill people that way, because if I'm attacking with 10 vampires, everybody takes 10, and I gain 10 life. Each opponent... Wait. Yeah. So that gets real quick. That's some of the changes I made in the deck. Blood Artist. Whenever Blood Artist or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So, again, don't mess with my stuff. Falcon Wrath Noble does the same thing, except it's a 2/2 flyer. Yep. That one's a nice foily one. Butcher, a Malakir. It's basically Grave Pact on a creature. So it's a 5/4 flyer. Whenever this Butcher a Malakir or another creature I control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. Again, sacrificing, not burying, so it gets around indestructible stuff and all that those good things. Defiant Bloodlord. Whenever I gain life, target opponent loses that much life. So you see all that life gain stuff I got in here? Works real good with this. I did take Sanguine Bond out of this deck just because I felt like there wasn't a lot of life gain in here, and Sanguine Bond gets kind of old to play with because I have that in a few different decks. I think I needed it actually for a different deck, so that's where it also went anyway. But I made room for other goofy stuff to put in here. Ghoul Draz Overseer, a 3/4 flyer with landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under my control, other creatures I control get +1/+0 until end of turn. If that land is a swamp, those creatures get +2/+0 until end of turn. So, again, most of my lands are swamps. Gives a nice little bump power up, because I'm playing a land every turn, so it's good. Rakish Air. Whenever a vampire you control deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So, power-ups for vampires. Another lifelinker. Indulgent Aristocrat. A nice foil one of those. Lifelink 1/1. Pay 2. Sack a creature. Put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. So this is a fun one where you attack with everything you got. You... whichever ones are being blocked, you sacrifice them to power up all the ones that are not being blocked, and you finish everyone off. Stormkirk Condemned. Another foily pre-release card. Look at that. Discard a card. Vampires you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Activate this ability only once each turn. So, discard a land or whatever junk. Again, a good finishing power-up move to all vampires. Patron of the Vein. 4/4 flyer. When Patron of the Vein enters the battlefield, destroy target creature an opponent controls. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, exile it and put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. Again, powering up all my vampires and exiling other people's creatures. Stormkirk Captain. 2/2 first strike. Other vampire creatures you control get +1/+1 and have first strike. First strike was always a great ability. Anytime I can add first strikes abilities to my decks or give all my creatures first strike, I'm finding a way to do it. So it's good stuff. Captivating Vampire. Other vampire creatures you control get +1/+1. Tap 5 untapped vampires you control, gain control of target creature. It becomes a vampire in addition to its other types. So there's a little more of that control in the deck. Real easy to get 5 vampires. I mean, basically I play three vampire cards, I got 5 vampires, and I'm stealing stuff. And again, that's even... You can do that even if they have Summoning Sickness, because it's not saying that they have to have a tap ability, it's just saying tap the vampires. Legion Lieutenant. Other vampires you control get +1/+1. Again, good stuff. Bloodlord of Vashgoth. Bloodthirst 3. If an opponent was dealt damage this turn, this creature enters the battlefield with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. It's a 3/3 flyer. Whenever I cast a vampire creature, it gains Bloodthirst 3. So as long as I hurt somebody, anytime I cast a vampire, they come out with +3/+3. I've never played it that way because I've never messed with Bloodthirst very much, but I can see your vampires getting big and out of hand real quick. Gifted Aetherborn, Death Touch, and Lifelink. 2/3 for only 2 black. I like it. This one, I really like this foil card, the way they did the moon. I hope that that's coming through on the camera real good. It's a very subtle foil card, but I like how they did it. It's a Vampire Nighthawk, Flying, Death Touch, and Lifelink. 2/3. It's if you ever see one of these in foil, it's really pretty, and I'm just gonna look at it for a minute myself. I really like how they did that. Blood Baron of Copacabana. Lifelink, protection from white and from black, 4/4. As long as you have 30 or more life and an opponent has 10 or less life, Blood Baron gets +6/+6 and has flying. So if I have more than 30 life, somebody else has less than 10, I just played a 10/10 flying lifelink protection from white and black. Crazy. Bloodline Necromancer. Lifelink 3/2. When Bloodline Necromancer enters the battlefield, you may return target vampire or wizard creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Oh, to the battlefield. Even better. I thought it was just to your hand. So here's the graveyard recursion a little bit. Driver of the Dead. When Driver of the Dead dies, return target creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this is recovering after those weird board wipes. Tithe Drinker, Lifelink 2/1, and then it has Extort, which means for a white or a black mana, whenever I cast a spell, if I pay a white or a black, each opponent loses 1 life, and I gain that much life. Again, more fun life gain. Drana Calastria Blood Chief, flying 4/4. You can pay X and 2 black. Target creature gets -0/-X until end of turn, and Drana Caladid whatever gets +X+0 until end of turn. So you kill something, and you get a power up for it till end of turn. So it's a good like drain life type effect. Vampire Hexmage, first strike 2/1. Sacrifice Vampire Hexmage, remove all counters from target permanent. This is what I put in there to deal with planeswalkers. It's an insta-kill for a planeswalker. I will definitely sack 1 creature to kill a planeswalker any day. And it's not even a tap effect. So it's basically for 2 mana, it's kill a planeswalker. That's really good. Flying protection from white. When Malakir Bloodwitch, it's a Malakir Bloodwitch. When Malakir Bloodwitch enters the battlefield, each opponent loses life equal to the number of vampires you control. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. Each opponent. Again, get all the opponents. Kill them all at once. Bloodline Keeper. Flying 3/3. Tap them, create a 2/2 black vampire creature token with flying. You pay 1 black and transform it. Activate it only if you control 5 or more vampires. Well, when you transform it, if you notice, this is a nice foily version of that as well, because from that special set, it becomes Lord of Lineage. Flying 5/5, other vampires you control get +2/+2, and you can tap it still to create more vampires. Super good in this deck. You flip it instantly, basically, and give all your guys power-ups, so it's really good. Something, though, about this set, these double-sided foils, they feel really stiff compared to the normal cardboard cards. I mean, you can tell that they're heavier and they're thicker. I always wondered if they were actually tournament legal or not. So, because you can, that's hard to, well, yeah, you can feel the difference. So, you can definitely cheat with those. So, if anyone knows if they're actually tournament legal, I would like to hear that. Of course, the place that I play is not crazy like that, so we just play with whatever. Forerunner of the Legion. Whenever Forerunner of the Legion enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a vampire card, reveal it, then shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. When another vampire enters the battlefield under your control, target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So it's a search and it's a power-up. Anawan, the Ruined Sage. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player sacrifices a non-vampire creature. Well, I will never sacrifice a creature because all my stuff is vampires. Dark Imposter. He's a 2/2. You can pay 4 and 2 black, exile target creature, and put a +1/+1 counter on Dark Imposter. That's a lot of mana just to get a +1/+1. Dark Imposter has all activated abilities of all creature cards exiled with it. Well, that's a little better. Mirror Entity. He's a changeling. So changeling means this card is every creature type. And he's a 1/1, but for X, until end of turn, creatures you control have base power and toughness XX and gain all creature types. So if it's late game and I have 10 mana sitting there with a bunch of vampires, I could power them up and make them all 10/10s instead of 1/1 vampires. So it's crazy good. And they still retain their abilities. So if I have all these guys that give +1 power-ups to all my vampires, it still gives them all that as well. And here's another changeling, a Taurian Mauler. Again, changeling means that he's every creature type. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, you may put a +1/+1 counter on Taurian Mauler. So that will get big pretty fast because people are playing spells and every card except for land is a spell. So that be the creature base. Let me mess with the focusing a little bit. I think I went the wrong way. Oh yeah, I definitely did. So, because I'm gonna do a quick run of the deck. We're gonna get it shuffled up, and we'll run it through so you guys can see a little bit of how it works. And if you notice, I am not using deck protectors because, like I said, after I show this off, even though I really don't want to, I'm tearing this deck down. I have too many commander decks, but I wanted to at least show it to everybody and catalog it before I totally wreck it. So I'm gonna do, okay, this is gonna hurt, but here we go. Ripple Shuffle. Ugh. Is that hurting anyone's soul? Watching me ripple shuffle? I don't think there's anything crazy expensive in this deck either. So I think buying the set itself is more expensive than well, who knows now? I don't even know. My wife tracked this deck down for me for Christmas, because I wanted Teferi's Protection that bad that I bought this whole deck. But also I wanted to play the Edgar Markov deck, and if you notice, Teferi's Protection is not in this deck. I actually put that in another crazy token deck, because now phasing, when tokens phase out, they don't disappear, they will phase back in. So I think that they changed that ruling because of Teferi's Protection, which is an amazing card, because it's basically remove myself from the game and I'll come back on my turn. So it's a fun card to play, and I've always had a good time every time I've played that card. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's do this. So we got a decent hand here. Drawing for first turn. We'll play a Temple of Malice and scry 1. Scrying 1, it's a land, so we'll put that away. Turn 2. Turn 2, surprise, there's a swamp. And we'll play Bloodseeker. That's really good to have out there early in the game, because other people are playing creatures. Oh, wait, I played a vampire. There we go. And they're taking damage for it. Turn 3. Not much happening turn 3. Turn 4. Turn 4. Yep. Driver of the Dead. Make another vampire token. So people are already taking damage. I have it too, where if somebody kills a board wipe or anything at this point, I'm going to get Bloodseeker right back into the battlefield. So that guy's going to be around for a while. Turn 5. Yeah, man. So I'd play that. Make another vampire token. Whatever. That's a Sanctum Seeker. So you see how it's just building itself up real quick, and everything does extra damage to everything. Turn 6. We could play Edgar. It does not count him to make tokens. But at this point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They all get +1 counters on them. And I just did 6 damage to each opponent, and I gained 6 life. So, I mean, you can see how it gets really out of hand really fast. And that's the thing with Edgar Markov, is that that's what he does. He makes so many vampires so fast. Grave Pact, just in case somebody starts messing with my stuff, and if I start attacking, you know, okay, block my stuff, kill it. Everyone else is going to lose creatures too. So if I need it, there's a Merciless Eviction in my hand. I mean, I've already established control of the game. So many people play this deck just because it was a very solid deck. I'm actually going to put all that on the bottom and play another set of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Anytime you get a Soul Ring in your beginning hand, that's always good stuff. So yeah, we're gonna have a good first turn. You ready for this first turn? We're gonna draw a land. We're gonna go Swamp, Soul Ring, Bloodblade of the Chief. It's all turn 1. Turn 2, we'll play a Mountain. Then we'll play a 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4 Storm Captain and equip him with the Blade of the Blood Chief. Because I have the mana to do it. Oh. Token. Play another land. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you notice, I've not gotten a lot of white cards in my hand in general. So, at this point, I would 2, 3, read the bones. So scry 2, that was my scry. Put that on the bottom. Put both of them on the bottom. Draw 2. Oh, I'm surprised I did not get a land. Huh. Opal Palace. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, I don't have 2 black, do I? I gotta do... This is interesting. 2, 4. I'll have somebody sack a creature and I'll gain life. And then that has rebound. So next turn, sack a creature. And that's done. Wow, man. I just keep making people sacrifice creatures because this guy is getting really big. 1, 2, 3. So everybody sack a creature. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I do not have the City's Blessing. One, 2, 3, 4. I don't know what I'm doing. Play that, get another token. So I'm not a big threat at this point, so I'm sure people aren't coming after me. Wow, man. That was terrible. That was not good at all. But again, even, you notice, even if the deck doesn't get a lot onto the table, you're still not at that big a disadvantage because you still got a lot of options. Even if you're not playing stuff yet, when you do get the mana base to play whatever you want, you come out really fast. So this is a really good hand too. Swamp. Swamp. Smoldering Marsh. Boop. So you get an idea how this time how quick this thing builds. Bajuka Bog somebody because I need to play a land. Play Blood Artist. So Siphon Mind, everybody discard. I will draw 3 cards. There's more land. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is turn 6. And I have a lot of white cards in my hand. I would want to build more vampires at this point. I'll do a new blood and steal somebody's creature. Then I'll play a Butcher of Malakir. So with Blood Artist, Butcher of Malakir, every time a creature dies, I gain a life. or everybody else loses a life and I gain a life, and everyone sacks a creature. Think I can get a white this turn? No, but I will still play another vampire. And then play Coat of Arms and kill everyone. Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 vampires, so all my creatures are getting 10, 10. So I'm attacking with an 11. 11 11s or more. So let's see, 4, 4, and 3. Yeah. So that's gonna wreck everybody and be game over. So so yeah, that's Edgar Markov. Again, that's a picture of Mitch on the card. So that's my vampire deck. So I hope you guys enjoyed tuning in today to see what I do with my vampire deck. I hope to see everybody tuning in next time. Tomorrow I will be doing, what am I doing? I'm playing crappy games this week. So, and I'm playing crappy games that I haven't played before, ever. So I plan on playing, where'd I put it? Some Shaq Fu on Sega Genesis, seeing if I can actually handle this stupid game. Also, I'm thinking about playing maybe some ET on Atari 2600, if I can get that to work. But I just felt like playing crappy games that I've never played before that have been famously bad. So we'll see what this week brings. But again, thanks everybody for tuning in today. If you're new to the stream and you have not followed, please hit that follow button, or the like button, or whatever button, depending on what you're watching this on, and show me any kind of support that you can. And tune in next time where the gaming never ends, as long as you press continue. See ya!